Zeke.
Thanks, Karine. When will the American hostages who are being held by Hamas be released? Will they be released in phase one, or will that come in subsequent phases?
And so the president answered this a little bit when he was speaking earlier today. He mentioned phase one. That's when we're going to be seeing that.
And the American hostages will come out in phase
so
one?
there will be more details that Brett McGurk will share right after this briefing. But what I will say is just to give you a little bit of how it will work. So during the first phase, which will begin on Sunday, the fighting will stop. Hostages will begin to be released, and aid will surge into Gaza. During these weeks, the second phase of the deal will continue to be negotiated to bring a permanent end to this war. If negotiations take longer than 6 weeks, the ceasefire will continue to hold as long as negotiations continue. This deal was developed by the president and his team about 8 months ago, back in May. You heard the president talk about that. So this was the framework. And once he was able to put out the framework, it was endorsed by the world. And so we are certainly, as the president started off in his remarks to the American people, to all of you as well, this is a good day. This is a good day. This is a good step forward. And so Brett McGurk, after this briefing, will have a call to give more details of how this is going to move forward. But again, this is a very good step forward.
And then, as you mentioned, the president announced this framework back in May of last year, a deal has been reached 5 days before this administration's term ends. It will go into effect a day before the next president is sworn in. Is it clear? Does the president want to give some credit to his successor, and that there's a forcing mechanism by that transition is helping push this deal towards the finish line?
So a couple of things, and you said this in your question to me. This is a framework that the president put forth about 8 months ago, back in May. Again, it was endorsed by the world when he put out this framework. His team has worked, because of the direction of the president, obviously, has worked 24/7, night and day, to get this done. You're going to hear directly from Brett McGurk, who's been on the ground, who's been in Doha at the direction of the president, obviously, with the leadership of National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan. And what we see this day as, this is a good day. This is a good day. Hostages are going to be able to go home, including American hostages, to their families. And after, 15 months since Hamas did something so unimaginable, launched an attack that was so dreadful. We lost so many lives because of that attack on October 7th. And we have been working around the clock to get this done. And so that's how we look at it. We're going to continue. We're going to continue to speak with the Trump transition. You heard even from National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan on Monday talk about how they have been coordinating with the Trump team, keeping them abreast, having regular conversations with them about this. And now we understand that this is going to be implemented by the next team. And so we're going to continue to work with until January 20th, we're going to continue to work closely with the Trump transition team. We have to remember what we have seen from this president over the last 8 months, since 15 months, as we're talking about this particular matter. That's what American president does. That's what they do. And that's what we've seen from this president and his leadership.
And you mentioned that this deal will be implemented by the next president. There's coordination between the White House and the incoming administration. Has the president spoken at all with his successor? And outside of the very brief ceremonial tea that they will have on the morning of the 20th, does he plan on having a more substantive conversation with him about his strategy and the briefing and the relationships that went into this agreement?
Well, Zeke, I will remind you, when he invited the President-elect Trump to the White House, they met for more than 90 minutes. And that's a pretty long time, significant time to have a heart-to-heart, a bit of a conversation. So that happened, as you know, right after the election. I don't have anything to read out at this time of upcoming conversation or conversations that's happened since their meeting in the Oval Office. But again, the Trump transition team and our team have been in constant communication, having these conversations, keeping them abreast. This president made a commitment. He made a commitment that he wanted to see a peaceful transfer of power, something that he didn't get 4 years ago. but he wanted to make sure to continue that that tradition and do a peaceful transfer of power. That's what you have seen. He wanted to make sure the transition was effective, efficient, and that's what we have provided. And like I said, we're going to be in close touch with our team and their team in the next couple of days.
And just lastly, on a different topic, you've said the president has been weighing preemptive pardons for all sorts of officials who he fears may be targeted by the incoming administration. Has he made a decision? And given that this is the last briefing, if he were to decide to issue those pardons, could you commit now that there'll be an opportunity to ask questions of the outgoing administration before noon on the 20th about any of the presidential actions?
I don't have anything to announce. You are correct. You could expect more pardons. I'm not going to go into details of what that's going to look like. It is not unusual for a president to do that. And so you should expect that from this president. I'm not going to make any commitments right now. I'm not going to lock ourselves into a potential another opportunity to ask questions about the pardons. But what I can say is stay tuned, and there will be more to share. And I'm sure the president's going to want to continue to engage with all of you in the next couple of days.
Thank you.
I haven't seen you in a while. Good to see you.
It's good to see you, and thank you so much for taking our questions so often.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks, Ouija.
So, in terms of implementing the terms of this agreement, how confident is President Biden that the incoming administration will do that, and have they offered any assurances that they will carry them out?
I think there's a commitment to move forward with this deal. I think there's a commitment to make sure that there's an end to this war. Obviously, hostages are going to be coming home. Obviously, we've been in very close touch with the Trump transition. And the president was asked some variation of that question moments ago after he spoke, and he said he is very much indeed confident. So look, we understand this is going to be implemented by the next team, as I just stated. We are going to work closely in close coordination with the Trump team. As the president has said, and I have said also moments ago, we want this to be in one voice, right? I think that's what you have seen in the past couple of weeks, how we have moved forward in one voice. And this is what's important for the hostages, to get them home, to make sure that we're getting that humanitarian aid into Gaza, and to ending this war that has taken a lot of innocent lives. And so that is the commitment. That is the commitment that you can see from us, and that's what the president believes, that he is confident in how we're going to move forward.
Tonight, President Biden is going to be delivering a farewell address. Ahead of that speech, we got a long list of what he views as his greatest accomplishments.
Yeah. Over 100 pages, I believe, right? Did you read? Did you have every word?
We have every word. Can you talk about what he thinks his greatest failures are, and whether he will address those tonight to the American public?
So look, this is an important moment for the president. He has been working on the speech, because obviously these are farewell remarks, but he is obviously going to be talking directly to the American people. It is not going to be partisan. This is something that, and not just forget, it's not just about the last 4 years of his administration. He is stepping down from his career, right? More than 50 years of public service that this president has done, as senator, as vice president, as president. So you can imagine the president has a lot to say, a lot of thoughts that he wants to share, really touch on the moment that we're in right now. And so that's what you're going to hear from the president. What he wants to do, obviously, is also be positive, talk about what we have been able to do. This is a president that speaks about possibilities and how he sees this country moving forward. And so that's what I could speak to. I'm not going to get ahead of what specifically what the president's going to say. I'm not going to go into line by line, but I can say, and I'd love to say that from here, is stay tuned, and I will leave it there.
And then finally for you, because you've clearly reflected on your role as press secretary, is there anything you wish you had done or said differently during your time?
Well, I will have a lot of time to reflect, right? You're not going to catch me up here, Alicia, today, but I will have a lot of time to reflect on my time here. As you know, this is, and I think you've gotten to know a few press secretaries during your career, this is a job that's nonstop. There's not a lot of time to reflect. It's always, we have to do the job. We have to speak on behalf of the president. We have to make sure that we're communicating with all of you. But what I can say with full heart is that this has been an honor and a privilege to do this job, and I have done it to my best of abilities on behalf of this president, and the best job that I will ever have. I truly believe that.
Thank you.
Again, Mary.
Thank you, Karine. You and the President have stressed that this is the framework that he put forward last spring, but the President also made clear it was important to him to work with the incoming administration, that they be speaking in as one team, as he put it. Even the Qatari Prime Minister in his remarks personally thanked Steve Witkoff, the incoming administration's Middle East envoy. So do Donald Trump and his team deserve any credit for this?
I mean, look, everyone is going to want some credit. Everybody's going to want some credit. Get that? That's how this goes when something good happens. Not unusual. It is not unusual at all. What I can say is the president got it done. Right? That's what I can say. And what I could also say is that, and you said it in your question to me, is that there was a framework that was put forward. And it was put forward by the president back in May 31st of last year. And it was endorsed by the world. And you see a president that has done everything that he can. This is someone who has foreign policy experience, decades of foreign policy experience. He understands what it means to bring people together. He understands what it means to get a deal done. He also said in his remarks how difficult it was to negotiate. Negotiating is incredibly hard, and this wasn't easy, but we got it done. And so, this is someone who speaks from experience. And this is, again, not an easy thing to get done. But as we've said, and I've said multiple times, and I think Jake Sullivan said this obviously recently when he was here on Monday, we were able to work closely with the Trump transition team and coordinate with them. But again, this is a framework that the president put out, and negotiations aren't easy. And this was one of the toughest negotiations that he experienced. And this is something that the president shared with all of you.
And does the president have any plans to talk to the families of the hostages, or has he talked to them today?
So as you know, the president and this administration has been in regular touch with the hostages hostage family, and have obviously always communicated with them that how much we're with them and the work, everything that we're doing to try to bring their loved one home. And we have stayed in constant communication with them. I don't have anything to read out as a call to any of the American hostages or the families at this time, but I can say that the president is, as he said, this is a really good afternoon, and our hearts go out. Our hearts go out to the families who have been waiting 15 months to get their loved ones home, and so this is a big deal. This is a big deal.